All right.
All right. What is going on, everybody? Thank you again for tuning in to the Metal Blade live series. I'm your host, Riley McShane, singer for Allegion, and I am joined by a very special guest this week, Mr. Markus Vanhala of Omnium Gatherum and Insomnium. How's it going, dude?
All good. Evening beer and evening
Yes.
chat with the day chat for you in the US. So
I know, right? You can really see like the difference between our two time zones on this screen here. It's like all bright and sunny where I am and dark
uh,
darkness descending where you are.
how it seems like Finland is always like the dark place.
Yeah. Yeah, right. That's why all the good metal comes from there, right?
Yeah, we
So
always.
uh so how's your pandemic been going, man? How's everything been treating you over in Finland?
Well, this is like a Finnish bar at the moment
Yeah.
because we also finally went to the lockdown. It's been pretty easy in Finland, but now everything is closed, and it seems like it's gonna be for a while. And
Yeah.
so it's gonna seems like the rest of the world will be waking up, and now Finland is closing down. So
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
usual
Well,
being
hoping
at home. So surprisingly,
yeah. Well, hoping it doesn't last too long. I know that like over here in the US we're starting to get our vaccines finally rolling out in a major way, and it's starting to become available for most people. I know here in California where I live, the governor is like, yeah, in like 5 weeks it'll be available for everyone. So steps
yeah.
in the right direction, I guess, getting everything back on the road. But you've been staying busy. Clearly, Insomnium just put out a single, "The Conjurer," last Friday, along with a video. So how did this track kind of come about?
Well, it leads a quick leap to 1 year
Yeah.
ago when something happened in the world, and we were actually in the starting the US tour. So we only played one show, and then this all shit started. So there's been a lot of time being at home. So you have to do something else than drink beer all the time.
Yeah.
So it's a good time to make some music, and that's what I'm basically been trying to do a lot, and that keeps my sanity at least at
Yeah.
some positive level. So
Yeah,
I've been
absolutely.
doing this and that, and the Conjurer single was one of those projects because the Heart Like a Grave album was just released few months before this pandemic, so it was still quite new album. So we didn't want to start writing a new full-length album immediately. So we decided to go halfway and do something. And now we're doing like a pop culture thing, so
Yeah.
doing something as like a digital singles and video releases. So
Yeah. Yeah, I
I'm a vinyl guy myself. I love old school ways, so this is something new for me to just
yeah,
do.
totally. Totally.
Digital.
It's something that I've talked about with other guests on here, about like this more modern like release strategy structure that you see a lot of bands kind of jumping on board with, that like you said, like pop and stuff have been doing for a while, where it's just like just release singles, you know what I mean? Especially in like streaming culture, it like keeps you visible, it keeps you relevant and all this kind of stuff. But I definitely see a lot of metal bands kind of like side eyeing it, just like not sure 100% if like that's the way to go, because a lot of metal fans, they want that record in their hand. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah,
like they want that physical, tangible thing. It's like part of the experience. So it's
it's weird. World is turning so fast nowadays, so you have to do all the time some stuff and be present here in social media and stuff like that, which is pretty hard for old metal guy from
yeah.
Finland. Like because as a music fan, I've always been like wait for your favorite band's albums for whatever years and then get the vinyl, go on your sofa, just lean and watch the cover artwork and listen the
Yeah.
album, and that's my way.
Yeah. And that's like, I feel like that's still to this day the most immersive experience. Is it's just like, it's like just you and the music. There's no screen in front of you. There's no interface that you have to work with. It's like you just pop it onto a record player or, you know, into a CD player or whatever your medium might be, and then just like get lost in it, like get absorbed in the music.
Yeah. Good thing is like the vinyl is coming back, because if it wouldn't be coming back, like the album artwork would be like almost pointless, like a tiny little picture in Spotify or something, and you spend like hours and hours some artist painting it, and then it's like this.
Yeah.
I'm happy that there's a vinyl is coming back, so it really makes sense to do cool artwork still, and so going to both directions.
Yeah, the vinyl collecting community is huge, man. It's like, it's wild, especially in metal. My business partner in my like video game company thing that I do is a huge metalhead and a huge vinyl collector. So it's like every day on his Instagram, he's just like, "Oh, look at this! It's so crazy!" And it's just these like big old, like, you know, it's rad. It's like you said, it's like the best way to get that like depth from the album art, and you can like really see, you know, all the details, and you can like immerse yourself into the art while you're listening to the music, which I feel is a kind of a lost experience with a lot of modern music listeners. So if you're listening to this right now and you've never bought a vinyl and just like sat there and looked at the artwork while you listen to it, go do it. It's sick.
Even if you're listening from the Spotify, you just can look at.
Exactly. So you know, obviously it's like you made this song, you made this video, this Conjurer project. Do you guys, Insomnium, have anything else planned for 2021 or going into next year?
There is some stuff bubbling under and new stuff coming, but I cannot tell what, because my lips are sealed.
Yes. The time has not come yet. Well, let's let's shift gears then into the other band, Omnium Gatherum. What's the latest going on there? Are you guys working on new music and all that kind of stuff?
Yeah, that's what I'm basically busy at the moment, because we are going on studio in April to record the next already 9th full-length album, and now basically all the stuff is completed and rehearsed, so it's just a little bit polishing, and then we are hitting the Sonic Boom studios in Helsinki to record it in April and May, and then Mr. Jens Bogren will mix it at Fascination Street Studios in somewhere around May, and then it's going to be released at the end of the year. Let's hope there will be some touring involved at the end of the year after that, but nobody knows. But
yes, hopefully the world will be back to normal by then. We can all get on the road. So you must get go ahead.
Yeah, it's been working like with simultaneously with different projects. As usually I'm being the guy like doing only now Insomnium, now OG, and now it's been doing all the stuff. So all the melancholy goes to Insomnium, and then the more uplifting and maybe more heavy metal kind of stuff and death metal kind of stuff is going to OG album. So
yeah, totally. So that was actually something I wanted to talk about real quickly, is like you must get asked a lot about how you delegate your time between the two bands. Is that something that's difficult? You kind of just explained that it's like, you know, you're usually just like, you know, this for that project, this for that project. You know, is that something that you've had to learn how to do, or has it kind of always been like that?
Well, it's something I have to do. It's some inner urge or inner curse. I'm just thinking like this is the way to do it. So I don't have any other paths. And now with this pandemic, there might be even some new bands coming. So it might be even more crazy afterwards. But I'm in my head even, well, Omnium Gatherum was the band I formed when I was like 14 years old. So it was just like a bad joke and bad fate that I was asked to join Insomnium later on, because, you know, Insomnium, Omnium, it's just so stupid. People keep asking like, why you are playing in two melodic death metal bands, which are basically similar named bands, but like, it's not my fault. It's fate.
You only named one of them. That's you know, you inherited the other name. Well, that's cool. That's exciting to hear that you might have other new stuff coming out. That's you know, I know obviously timing and you know this industry is full of secrets, so if you can't talk about it, that's totally understandable, but it's still exciting to know that you have other musical things coming out.
Yeah, one album is even already recorded, and it's gonna be, maybe it will be revealed in May or something like the first
Nice.
video. But
Nice. You
it's
heard it.
something bit different, but it's something I've always wanted to do, and it's nostalgic trip to the dark 90s.
Yes, yes. Ah, that's like my favorite period of music. I'm excited now. So speaking of kind of the dark 90s, I recently saw this like throwback on the Howard Stern show of Typo Negative covering a Neil Young song called Cinnamon Girl, and then I noticed that on your Instagram there's a link to a cover that you played of Green Man. Is Typo like a big influence on you, or that like just general kind of like industrial like goth rock kind of stuff?
Yeah, well, one of the biggest bands for me ever. Like we did that cover song, which is in my Instagram, The Green Man. We honored like a 10-year anniversary of Peter Steele's death, like last year. So we did that as a tribute. But Typo is one of the most important bands for me. If I would maybe have to say like 3 bands that I took all the albums with me to the somewhere to the moon,
Yeah.
so it would be like Iron Maiden, Death, and Typo Negative. So
Nice.
I've always been like a huge fan, and that's one of the coolest gigs I've ever seen. I saw them like 8 years ago, pretty drunk though, so don't remember a lot, but it was just like a so genius band what they did. Like got the mix of like a Beatles, Black Sabbath, and some Goats stuff, and a little bit doom metal, and it's so a nice dose of black humor, like a Bloody Kisses album and October Rust is exceptionally full of like a really great dark humor.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. It's like I always kind of have viewed that band as like a like one of those like slasher movies, you know what I mean? Like Friday the 13th or like Nightmare on Elm Street, but like a band.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
They have that same kind of vibe to them, and I was just
Halloween.
yeah,
Oh,
exactly.
yeah.
And I feel like there's a lot of crossover between the fan bases too. It's like if you're into those like 80s, 90s horror movies, you're probably a
Yeah.
Typo Negative fan as well.
Yeah, definitely. And like their goth image, like for example, it's great. Like a Black Number One song, for instance, which is like all the 90s goth girls were into that song, and
Yeah.
this song is about me. It's, if you really take the deeper meaning of the lyrics, it's just like a dissing the goth girls, and
Yeah.
Peter had a really great sense of humor in everything he did, and like a Wolf Moon, which is about menstrual things, and
Yeah.
then it's like drinking blood, and
Yeah,
it's
they
so many levels on the songs.
the cleverness in the lyrics was definitely always there. That's something that I always appreciate when bands do, is it's like, you know, it's cool to like, you know, be a death metal band that's just writing about like blood and gore and, you know, doing your death metal thing, but I've always appreciated lyrics that have like a little bit more like depth or like a double meaning,
Yeah,
where it's like, you know, it's got like a topic to follow, and I
yeah,
feel like Typo has always been really good at that.
yeah.
Yeah,
Some people would make it really cheesy, got stuff, if you don't read it correctly,
yeah,
and in every way, like a Typo Negative was like a sum of its all parts, like that kind of vocals, which doesn't have any sense, and the bass sound like a bzzz,
yeah.
and basically like a programmed drums, and it's like a really weird mixture, but somehow it works perfectly.
Just makes it work. I've always called those Dracula vocals, like from the '80s, because there were so many bands that would do the like and I'm just like, oh man, it sounds like Count Dracula is singing to me, just like I want to suck your blood.
Yeah, like have you seen the bat video of some gothic band of the 80s playing, and there's like bats that were hanging from the like a ceiling, but it's like upside down, so it seems like a goth club where the bats are just
That's amazing.
you check from the YouTube like a bats in the goth club or something like that.
Yeah, I totally have to check that out. It's taking the Dracula vocals to a whole new level. So, speaking of, late and great artists, you also, appear to be a big fan of Eddie Van Halen. Was pretty active on like social media when he passed. How did his playing particularly influence you growing up? As a guitar player, I feel that's kind of a loaded question because he influenced so many guitar players. But for you personally, what was your experience like?
I was so young when I fell in love with Van Halen. I first fell in love with the songs and like music, and I didn't play guitar back then when I started to dig Van Halen. But of course, when you started to listen Van Halen, somehow you fell into the guitar chapter. And so basically, because Eddie Van Halen is such a mad scientist in guitar, so he's been one of the main influences why I ever picked up the guitar, and still is, because no one can play like him. And I've been trying to play Eruption like millions and millions of times, but it never sounds like Eddie because he has such a unique style and sounds and some magics that no one else can do.
Yeah.
Brandon Ellis from Black Dahlia Murder. I was with like the Eruption tribute, and that was maybe the closest ever that I heard someone doing the sounds and style of. Brandon is a great guy.
Yeah, he's a fantastic guitar player. He before I was in Allegiant, and before he was in Black Dahlia, Allegiant and Arsis toured together when he was playing with them, and that's how he kind of became friends with the guitar players in my band, and they have nothing but good things to say about him. They're just like, oh, his vibrato is so good.
We're touring with Black Dahlia Murder also. The last tour we did with Insomnium in Europe, and like me and Jani, the guitar player of Insomnium, were watching like so envious the Brando's playing every night.
He's a shredder, man. He's really good. His I feel like he's a prime example of when people say tone is in the fingers. You know what I mean? Is that it's like,
definitely. And like attitude, vibrato and stuff like that.
Yeah, exactly. It's kind of like what you were saying about Eddie Van Halen, is that it's like, like you can play those same notes, but like he had such a unique way of articulating his notes and like putting personality into it that I feel like no one else has really captured. And I feel like Brandon is another person that is kind of like that.
Guitar playing is still like all the people can like rehearse and play stuff, and if you rehearse million hours per day, then you became apparently technically good. But some like these magical players, they are just telling like a story when they play, and it's a storytelling, and you have to feel what you are playing and telling something. It's not something like now I played like a perfect note, because that's like that's, or some people like it, but that's not my school. I like the players that have something coming from the heart, and it usually comes through the vibrato and bendings and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
When you can see through the soul of the guitar player.
Yeah, all the phrasing is there and all that good stuff. I play a little bit of guitar, but not to the extent that like a lot of these shredders or like even the people that I play with in bands, play. I can't even touch those guys, but it's something that I feel like you have to kind of learn early on as a guitar player, is that like, and it's like almost kind of cheesy to say it, but like you playing with feeling, like you have to know how to do that, I feel, before you start like shredding, because if you know how to play with like feel and then you learn how to shred, like it's reflective in your playing, and you have like much more unique personality to your guitar playing. So
yeah, feeling
absolutely.
the balls.
Yes.
And maybe the technical ability is third.
That's the top three.
Is the most important thing. Like you were speaking about Van Halen, like so many 80s shredders got that, like those things, like they had something really original to all the guys sounded like different, like Eddie Van Halen,
Mhm.
Malmsteen, Randy Rhoads.
Yep. My
What's the name?
I can never remember his name, but the guy from the Scorpions, I feel like had a really really good. Uh,
Schenker.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Schenker. Yes.
Dude's a shredder, man. I've always like out of all the '80s like hair metal type of bands, I always
Yeah.
found the Scorpions to be like especially like the guitar playing and the soloing and the shredding is just like it's so unique to like just them, versus like the other bands who were still good at it. Bands like Whitesnake and Rat and Motley Crue and all that kind of stuff. But I feel like Scorpions have always just kind of been like a step above when it comes to that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Uh,
German machine. There's like a really German army kind of like.
yeah.
I just saw Scorpions like a few years back at some festival in Europe, and now they had in drums like Mickey D from Motorhead.
Oh,
Like,
really?
it was such a good. We had to Google like how old is the singer Klaus Meine,
Yeah.
and he was like 70, I think, and he was still like so badass, and
Yeah.
Mike D doing the Motorhead drumming on the band. It was so good.
Dude, it's hard for me to come to terms sometimes with the fact that like 1980 was like 40 years ago. Like,
Exactly.
I feel like time stopped at like the year 2000, and I'm like, oh, 1980? Yeah, that was 20 years ago. What are you guys talking about? But it's like, oh my God, it's already been 21 years since the turn of the millennium.
Exactly. In 2 weeks, I'll be turning to 40, and I still feel like a sweet 16.
Yeah. Hey man, you gotta stay young at heart. Well, speaking of having balls and staying young at heart, after further looking at your Instagram, it appears that you have a thing for Corvettes. So I have to ask you about that because I need to know how a Finnish death metal guitar player gets into classic American cars. It's so cool.
I think that's even more older thing than guitar playing for me, because when I was a kid, I was a huge fan of cars, and especially like US muscle cars and Ferraris.
Yeah.
Ferraris are still a bit too expensive,
Yeah.
but I think Corvette and Camaro,
Yeah.
the Chevys, were the first cars I ever fell in love, and I had like a tiny matchbox cars of those, and it's always been like my favorite car, like especially the 80s one, the C4.
Mm-hmm.
Most of the people think like the 70s Corvette is the most coolest one, and it is. I have to say, the shape is better than the 80s, but the 80s Corvette was always the one and only for me, so
Yeah.
that's why it's my truck of choice.
Yeah.
Then I just
Oh, go ahead.
then I just found so stupid colored Corvette in Finland with this lime green. So it just melted my heart immediately. So, and I did all these Shelby black things to the car and pimped it up.
That's awesome. So do you like work on your cars? Are you like savvy when it comes to like mechanic type of stuff?
Yeah, I've been learning a lot of before I owned the 80s Corvette. I wasn't so much I didn't know that much about motors or engines, but you have to repair that car pretty much, and so you learn through the car a lot of things. So
Yeah.
and we have like a garage with the friends, and there's a lot of like cool cars. There's 3 Corvettes, one C3 from the 70s, and one is from the 2005, which is like a C6, and then some Japanese JDM cars, which is like we always have like this fight with the Japanese and US cars on the garage, but it's cool. That's a really good feeling.
Yeah.
Always helping each other, and that's a really nice therapy. Like nothing to do with the music, and the guys in the garage they don't care. I'm like playing in a band and touring the world. They're just like whatever. That's like a sanctuary. I don't have to speak at all. Like when is your next tour? When is the album coming out and stuff like that.
It's good, man, to have those like places where you can kind of get away from all that. Because because it's, you know, not to say that it's a bad thing by any means. It's like, you know, this is what we chose to do with our lives and all that kind of stuff. But, you know, it's nice to be able to just like go work on a car or like go, you know, like I train in martial arts, and it's the kind of thing where it's like nobody in my dojo knows anything about my music career. Like that's not, you know, that's not the place for that. So it's like, it's cool to, you know, have those little places to get away.
Different faces.
Yeah.
so cool. Like
exactly.
I'm so much looking forward. Like maybe next month, the winter is already gone, so
yeah,
the car is coming out of the garage, and it's always been like the first song when driving out from the garage, the first thing in the summer, like putting Judas Priest Turbo Lover to the CD and drive over to the sun.
Yes, that's awesome.
Like a perfect rhythm on the Turbo Lover. It's almost in synchronicity with the V8 engine, like a
yeah. Sitting there idling along with the music. I made a joke a while ago that I was like, yeah, if you're ever in traffic sitting next to like a Harley Davidson, it's kind of like you're listening to Meshuggah, because the way those things sound when they idle is they're just like yeah.
Bleed going all over.
Yeah. Exactly. Well, that's super cool, man. I grew up next to a guy who was super into Camaros. He had like I can never remember the year. I want to say it was like a 56, but I think that's wrong. I think it might have been a 60s Super Sport, the 60s like Super Sport Camaro.
Yes, that's a cool one.
Yeah, it was rad, man. He had it was this like midnight blue color. In the town where I grew up, there's this every Friday night, and I recently moved back here a couple years ago, and I still haven't been able to make it, obviously because of the pandemic and stuff. But they do this thing every Friday night between like April and September called Cruisin' Grand, and it's like an old vintage car show. So I'll have to you know, when it finally opens up and people can do it again, I'll have to send you pictures, because it's rad, man. It's like there's so many cool cars out there.
Yeah. Hopefully sometime we are touring the US. And
yeah, exactly. Land in San Diego on a Friday.
You can steal one Dodge Charger 69 for me.
Yeah.
Camaro S from the 69 also.
Yep.
Those 60s muscle cars are the true muscle cars.
Yeah.
Insane engines. But in Finland, it's like almost impossible to find those. And if you find those, it's like 100 grand.
Oh my god. Yeah, they're hard to find. They're really expensive once they're like restored over here. You know, they're you know, like up like in the like 70,000, 80,000 range when they're like fully restored. But you can find them over here just like in really shitty condition for like a couple $1,000s, and then you just have to spend all the time putting work into it and building it up. I know a lot of people I know, you know, get like a beat up car from the 60s and then spend 3 or 4 years just getting it all show ready. And
69 Charger would be cool in your garage, even it would be not working, just like sitting and drinking beer and just like
that's awesome, man. That's awesome. So let me look here. I have a couple people asking questions. So oh, I know her, Rachel Fannin. Hi, Rachel. Rachel Fannin wants to know, what was your inspiration for the new single? I think she's talking about Conjurer.
It's hard to translate because it goes back to the last summer. We were having like a camp I'm living in an island here in southern Finland, and we were having like camp and cottage in the island, and speaking about one really old Finnish song which is called Hopeinen Kuu, which translates like an argent moon. So that song is basically, the story is pretty much from that. It's like a really old love song which doesn't end happily, as you can see from the video. And so the story was still like an, how you say, continuum to the Heart Like a Grave album, which was pretty much inspired by these old Finnish folklore songs. So you can really tell like the Conjurer song is still like a continuum to the previous album.
Right.
So
well, that's awesome. I like that a lot. I like music that's like based in like folklore and stuff like that. That's super cool. Um, So, Cana- Canadian Bean 28 wants to know, can he ask Markus more details about the Omnium Gatherum album, writing process, vibe, etc. Uh, I think I think we talked about that a little bit, but if you want to elaborate.
yeah, it's nothing too special and magical. We've been doing this so long with Omnium Gatherum. So, but the thing now is like because of the pandemic and everyone is staying at home, there's been so much more time to compose the album at the moment. So I have a really good feeling about the album because there's been plenty of time to do the songs and rehearse those. And I feel we are maybe I feel, or I was thinking maybe bit go back to the Beyond album kind of era with the songs. So I pretty much listened to that album and tried to find those glory days feelings. So pretty much a little bit like borrowing from the old Beyond era and then bringing something completely new to the table, like always.
Yeah.
And in the end, it sounds like Omnium Gatherum. It doesn't matter what I'm thinking, but now I'm not gonna do something completely different, or I'm gonna do like the first album again because it always sounds like Omnium Gatherum in a different way. But we are already so old band, so kind of established their own sound and own trademarks.
Yeah, totally. Well, that's super cool. Joanne Strom says, "Happy early birthday, Markus." I get when's your birthday?
It's what is it called in English? Like a Friday, the Friday when Jesus was nailed to the cross.
Oh, Easter. Easter Friday. Yeah.
Easter Friday, yeah. So it's in 2 weeks.
Nice. Well,
it's like my personal Via Dolorosa.
Yeah.
It's like Happy Friday called, or what is it?
Yeah. Oh, they call it Good Friday.
Good Friday.
Good Friday. Yeah. Which is weird because, getting crucified doesn't sound very good. But yeah, Good Friday and then Easter Sunday.
Gets me thinking like Once Upon the Cross by Dayside.
Yeah, exactly. I almost covered that song with my band Continuum. I know there's like 9 different bands named Continuum, but yeah, we almost covered that song. We still might one of these days. Once Upon the Cross, it'd be a fun one.
Yeah, I love those 3 first Dayside albums.
Yeah,
so
man.
Cool
Those are definitely
cool.
I won't say the best ones because it's all subjective, but they're my favorites for sure.
Yeah.
So I guess, I don't want to keep you too much longer because I know it's getting late over there. But what else has been keeping you busy during the pandemic? Have you, any new skills or hobbies outside of cars and stuff, or any new bands that you've, been checking out a lot recently?
Been too much at home. It's been like as usual, old normal. I was touring so much. I was always longing to go back to home, and now been 1 year basically at home only. So listening a lot new music, playing a lot guitar, doing some occasional sports, and it's basically life's been pretty boring.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's the honest truth.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
New projects and that kind of stuff. Keeping the old alive.
Yeah. Working on music, man. That's I feel like it's like I ask that question to a lot of people on this show, and it's generally like, well, I've been working on music. What else am I going to do? It's you're interviewing musicians. What do you think musicians are going to be doing during the pandemic? We're all working on new projects and listening to new bands and, playing our instruments and doing all that kind of stuff. So
next magical chapter in my lockdown life. Yeah. Like we're buying like some home brewery stuff, and I'm going to start to do my own beer.
Nice. Yeah.
When your hobby collides with your
Yeah.
profession.
I know a lot of people over here in the States started making bread. It was so weird. Like right when maybe like 4 or 5 months after everything, came to a halt last year, I saw so many people that were just like, I'm just gonna start baking bread. I'm just gonna start making like cracked rye and sourdough and make these loaves of bread at home. And I was just like, man, what a strange hobby for everyone to pick up all at the same time.
I think pretty same thing in Finland happened with them knitting, like doing socks, knitting socks. And those all the stuff surrounding knitting was like a sold out in Finnish shops, and it's like what's happening here? New normal, fucking weird.
Yeah, everybody's just taking up all these hobbies that most people don't do until they're old. But I guess that's because when you're old, you have time, right? That's what it is. All of a sudden, everybody had time, and now they're all knitting and baking, and we're just turning into a bunch of old people.
Yeah.
Well, one
more
thing.
months I'm doing the bread myself and knitting.
Yeah. Next time I talk to you, we better both be eating freshly baked loaves of bread and knitting scarves.
I don't want to anymore compose any new music. I just
well, so one more thing before I let you go, that you brought up that I had completely forgotten about. We both covered Subdivisions by Rush. Both of our bands did. Yeah, I remember we both played 70,000 Tons of Metal, Allegiant, and Omnium Gatherum in 2017, I think it was. And I think there was like an effort to like try to get like your vocalist, because we were playing our version of that because it had like just come out. So we were playing it live on the boat, and I remember there was like some kind of concerted effort to like get your singer to come and like do it with us, but I think it was too late. There was too much other stuff going on. But
nightly ideas at the bar, which always ends on stage or not.
Yeah, man. Well,
such a cool coincidence, because like Subdivisions, it's not your regular songs that all the death metal bands are covering. And
yeah, right. It's
man, really taste.
You know who else covered it is 12 Foot Ninja. 12 Foot Ninja covered it. They're like a prog band from Australia. I'm not sure if you've heard of them, but was it 12 Foot Ninja or was it Ninja Sex Party? I think it was Ninja Sex Party was the one who did it. I have to look it up now. Hold on one second.
I haven't heard that, because also Rush is kind of like a band which is too sacred and holy for the Rush fans, because they are so hardcore people. People who are digging Rush, and we were waiting so much shitstorm upon us when we covered like a growling version of Subdivisions, but pretty well. Of course, there were some like old geezers saying like, you can't do that.
Well, that's the thing, man, is it's like you can't win them all, right? Because when we did it as like a death metal band who had like never done clean singing before, and then all of a sudden we do this cover song, and it's just clean singing, people were like, where's the growling? It's all clean singing. What the fuck? So it's like, if you do it all growling, there's going to be older, progressive rock dudes who are just like, this isn't true to the original. But then if you do it true to the original, there's going to be death metal nerds who are just like, it's not metal enough. So, I've learned.
It's little things you can't do wrong.
That's why you just got to do what you want. Yeah. So it was Ninja Sex Party, by the way. It was Ninja Sex Party. They covered Subdivisions in the same year we did, 2016. 2016, it came out on they did a whole cover album called Under the Covers. So all this says to me now is that we need to do a Ninja Sex Party, Omnium Gatherum, a Legion tour, and just call it Subdivisions. And then all we do is play Subdivisions for 35 minutes each, and then we just go home. That's it.
Triple Subdivisions.
Yeah.
The page. Ninja Sex Party. I've never heard that band name.
They're really good. They're like a progressive rock band. They obviously have kind of like a humorous, like, kind of twist to a lot of their stuff, but they're like really, really talented. Yeah. Very, very good band.
Highly surprised if Ninja Sex Party is like a really true evil black metal.
Yeah, right.
We are Ninja Sex Party.
We only play in robes by candlelight. We
They're black ninjas, of course.
That's amazing. Well, dude, it's been awesome talking to you, man. I'll let you go because it's I know it's getting late over there. I've kept you for a while, but for those of you watching who are just tuning in, this has been my interview with Markus Vanhala. That's what it is. Got it right. Got it right. Yeah, Markus Vanhala of Omnium Gatherum and Insomnium. Insomnium just released a single last Friday called Conjurer. Omnium Gatherum has new music in the works, hitting the studio in April. So make sure to go follow both those pages down below, and stay tuned, check them out, and all that good stuff. And then Markus, awesome talking to you, man. Great meeting you, and I hope to see you again very soon.
I hope so.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you all so much for watching. I'm your host, Riley McShane of Allegion, and we will see you next week.